specifically for that reason. But slowly we found out that a lot of the people who were coming in had the means to just completely, for instance, if you had an apartment and they wanted the apartment, or they'd buy the whole building, and that ended that. Fortunately, some of the people in the South End could see that lesson of the West End, because there was a hot and heavy battle about that. And I don't know if it's changed for the better. Certainly you can get a lot of good things easily out of that and say, well, you know, it became more expensive and nicer houses and nicer people, if you want. So my answer is, I don't know. I think it remains to be seen what is going to happen. Great people are moving into the area now. Great in the sense they get involved with the community, which was a little bit of a problem, or a significant problem in the past. A lot of these folks now immediately get involved with the community, and some of them come and go as well. So,
I think there's definitely pros and cons, and you always have that mixture. Uncle Harry talked about, you know, people with money moving in more recently. It's much more expensive, which brings a whole different level of economic status, which that has some benefits, but it's also pricing other people out who have been here forever and ever. So the pro and the con to that. I actually find a little bit differently than Uncle Harry. There is still a very big sense of community on our street. West Canton and Montgomery, some of, you know, West Brookline across the alley from us. Part of that is due to some of what I feel we've fostered. We have a lot of people who've lived on our street for many years, so when new people come in, we've fostered that community, the sense of community. I don't think the South End as a whole has the same feeling, sense of community that would have been there when I was growing up, and I think when I was growing up there might have been even less than when Nana and Uncle Harry were growing up. So I think some of that society itself has changed, where you have, you know, some single parent homes where the parent is working, 2-parent homes where both parents are working. That wasn't as common. It was starting when I was growing up. I had some friends who had both parents who were working, but for the most part, one parent was home, and there was, you know, block parties. You don't see that as much. Stoop sitting is almost gone, and even like 10 or 15 years ago, you had more people sitting out front than you do now. There was a change from when I was young, where lots of people, it was a single family home, and then it moved into apartments and condos. And some of those are now reverting back to single family homes. So you could look at the condos, you know, 5 floors. You could have 3 or 4 condos in one building. A negative aspect is it brings more cars in, parking is harder. So, I don't know, like, we've got great restaurants here now. When I was really little, I mean, the streets weren't kept clean. It was dirtier. People were then you know, making a big effort to clean up the neighborhoods, empty lots, which probably started before I was born, but I still remember some of that. So, as some of the gentrification happened, the area became cleaner, and there was a time period where there was a lot of crime in the South End, which is less now. Wrap it up? Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry. Your turn.
Many of the changes that you see in this community now as opposed to before are just a reflection of changes all over. Maybe the changes are more dramatic in the South End because of the fact that property values, by virtue of gentrification, have increased so dramatically.
Mm.
The South End has always been a neighborhood of inclusion compared to many other neighborhoods, as evidenced by what your mom was describing before, as people less tolerant.
Mm.
I mean, when we grew up, all of us, and you know, all these generations, you know, this was a place where you could be, you know, where biracial families could live and be accepted, where gay people could come and be accepted. For a long time, it was the Skid Row of the city, but